Okay, hi. I'm Megan Tamila Burke. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about your 2025 donor strategy. For those of you who are here live, I do want to hear what you're working on or, yeah, just what brought you here. But to start it off, I'll start with me. I'm Megan Tamila Burke, as I mentioned. I am a Taurus, should you be into astrology, and I really just love money. And I think in a healthy way. Um, but I particularly love connecting people to money and living in an abundant mindset. My background is in business operations, worked in the fitness industry, international hospitality, and the past 15 years I've worked on the side as a consultant. And in the past 5 years, I've transitioned that consulting work to working with individuals, particularly women, on how to create their own businesses. And now I've transitioned to the nonprofit space, or rather back to the nonprofit space. And it's been so enjoyable to bring a bit of my business grit to the nonprofit world, if you will. And again, particularly in regards to money, I'm learning that there are limited limiting beliefs in regards to the nonprofit space, or at least some of the people that I'm encountering, or just again, not even nonprofit, but mission driven organizations, no matter what you're doing. I'm hearing a lot of limiting beliefs. And so this is my way of putting it into the universe to help people connect to money, because I really am a believer that it's out there. And most of the time, you really just have to ask, but also being strategic with that and building up to the ask, showing up as your authentic self, or creating a brand rather that people can resonate with, so that when you do ask for money, they're happy to give it. And if it hasn't been clear, my mission today is to help you in regards to your newsletter strategy in particular. Newsletters are how I built my brand personally. It has changed my life. Creating these newsletters and sending them out, I have about a 70% open rate. I have maybe like a 25% click through rate. For context, the average open rate is somewhere around, I want to say it's like maybe in the 20s. And again, mine is in the 70s. And the average click through rate is about, or click, that's the amount of time someone clicks in a newsletter, is about 3%. And mine is, again, in the 20s. And so I know what I'm doing. I feel very confident in that. But also, I know how to craft newsletters that people actually want to read. And I've done it successfully for myself as an individual. I've helped coaches and top of that, organizations, companies. Flowers is a dispensary in DC that I've helped extensively grow their brand. Employee Zero built their whole brand through newsletters as well. And it's so slept on. So my mission today is that you leave with a way, you leave knowing how newsletters resonate with you, but also in a way that, yeah, you can send them in a way that doesn't feel exhausting, because I think that's like the common theme, is that newsletters just feel daunting and draining, and where do you even begin? And that's where I really hope to help you today. And so the two key things here in regards to, yes, newsletter design, but on top of that, and why I excel at it, is one, cultural intelligence is a huge theme of this entire training that we're doing today. My newsletters hit because culturally, I mean, it helps that I'm also like, I lean into the fact that I am a Black woman. I do believe we are the culture. And so I speak as myself. And then secondly, relationship building. And so newsletters are your way of connecting and keeping those relationships going, but also in a way that feels, again, authentic to you. What works for me may not work for you, and that's okay. I have tips and tricks for days. And so for today, again, if you are at work, you're driving, you'll get the recording and you can come back to this later. But if you are here to work, if you've been on workshops with me before, you know we're not here to just chat. You are here to get things done. Should you wish, that's the link. We'll be working off of this document. So in summary, we have three things to do today. We're going to find your people. You're going to learn to speak their language, but in your own way, and create a simple vibe to keep them engaged. And again, simple is the emphasis here. I'm big on making things easy. And so to start, I want to highlight the difference between community donors and corporate donors. Again, can someone tell me actually what's something that an organization you're working on, or yeah, what brought you here? What are you working on that you would, I mean, it sounds like you want to get money for it. You can put it in the chat. You can turn on your mic.
I can start. Oh, excuse me. Good morning, good
Good
afternoon.
morning.
I am Lamar Clifford. I'm the executive director of APF Global, um, and the founder of the King's Fund, uh, a new nonprofit dedicated to bold and impactful initiatives. My work, for the most part, is rooted in empowerment, sustainability, and community. Through the nonprofit APF Global, I help lead efforts to support economic development, education, and local leadership, particularly in Haiti. And
Cool.
With the King's Fund, we are in the process of launching initiatives that will drive meaningful uh, transformation and long-term solutions. And so I'm passionate about building strong partnerships and finding innovative ways to uplift communities. And I'm excited to connect and to collaborate with you all.
That is fire. That's and so to clarify, are the majority of your initiatives for Haiti or attached to Haiti?
Well, I'm here because of two nonprofit organizations. And so the first one, APF Global, is that particular nonprofit is geared towards Haiti.
Okay, cool. And that one specifically is okay. So let's focus then. Lamar, you're going to be my case study. Are you Haitian?
I'm not Haitian.
Even but I feel very called toward
Well, no,
helping Haiti.
the reason I laugh about that is because theoretically we can say we are all Haitian, but no, I'm not. I wasn't born in Haitian, and my parents aren't Haitian.
Perfectly said. Heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be my case study for part one, and maybe part two and part three. You'll tell me how you feel. Okay, but for part one, let's focus on APF Global. Tell me, tell me an individual that comes to mind that resonates with APF Global, and in what way do you think that they resonate? Someone, for example, if you started a mailing list, or maybe you have one already, an individual where you're like, I gotta have that person on this list. Why? Who was that person and why?
Um, well, so like okay, so I would the first person that comes to mind would be a state representative that I grew up with, and just because we come from the same community, I think that we definitely have the same communal values. In addition to, we're like family as well. And I know that the work that he does formally and professionally in the Louisiana State Legislature would is definitely could be and is a way in which we could uh, further the initiatives and to create further the initiatives of the organization and to create change.
Perfectly said. In
I want to,
summary,
and I guess
go ahead.
what I want to say, I know that he has the connections, the capacity, and the will to do the work.
Perfectly said. And above that, the first thing you said, at least that I heard, was it resonates. You come from a similar background. You know that you can speak to your mission and your initiatives in a way that hits with this person. That's what I heard.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so on the flip side, that's say we're focusing on two key donor groups, right? Community and corporate, and whether that's corporate, it could be organizations, institutions, whatever that may be. So on the flip side, Lamar, tell me an organization, an institution, a university, whatever, something that resonates, that would resonate with your mission, your initiatives, that would you need on your email list.
I would say it's a couple of them that comes to mind. So the first one that automatically came to mind is the Baton Rouge Community College, because I'm thinking about universities and organizations as such. And then the next would be the Southern University, but specifically Southern University's agricultural department. And just a little bit more background about APF. APF stands for the Association Paysan Fundois. And so APF it started as an organization of farmers. And so when the organization was created in 1988, it was a group of farmers who came together to farm and to create sustainability in the rural communities of Haiti. And so, of course, when I think about the beginning and when I think about the work, institutions that have the capacity, such as I know, like Southern University is a agricultural university, and so that's one that definitely comes to mind. And just Louisiana and the resources and the connections as well.
Beautifully put. Love the correlation. You crushed my assignment. But just how you mentioned when I said the institutions or corporate or whatever it may be, how it seemed like your brain started moving with these different people that you could reach out to, or organizations, or again departments. Just there, the list is invaluable. The list is there in our brains, and so today, and for part one especially, we're going to tap into that list. And so for everyone, the same way that Lamar just did. And someone else too, I would love to hear from someone if you are down to come to turn on your mic to tell us about what you're working on. And we're going to do the same thing we did with Lamar, who is someone that resonates with your mission, and a corporation, institution, organization that resonates with your mission. But whether you come off your mic, turn on your mic or not, your mission right now is to just jot down, it could be on paper, a Google Doc, a Notion doc, 5 organizations and 5 individuals that align with an upcoming or current project of yours. That's simple. And again, if you can talk it out, I would love to hear it, but no pressure. I'm biased, but yes, please. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Rochelle. And so I have several irons in the fire actually right now. I am in the process of launching and founding a school called Community Roots Charter School. It's Community Roots Leadership Academy, actually, which is a charter school here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana as well. I also am in the process, while waiting for the charter to be approved, of launching the Dream Academy Micro School, which will be a micro school, homeschool tutoring hub, right? And so then I have my own nonprofit, which is Culture Reset. And so with that being said, you asked what are 5 possible connections that I would have. And so Mr. Lamar already actually stole one of mine, which is Baton Rouge Community College. The school that I'm actually proposing, it is a CTE entrepreneurship school with a dual enrollment component, which means students in 9th through 12th grade will get internships with some of the business community, as well as have a trade, a licensure, and things of that nature. So BRCC is definitely one of my proposed partners. I'm an LSU graduate. And so for me, that is another college, as well as Southern University. So of course, on that side, looking to those 3 partnerships. But in addition to that, I am also looking at Exxon and Dow. Because we of course, with our CTE components, with our different trades, they partner a lot with different nonprofits, especially in the area of education. And so then that's something I definitely want to try to tap into. My husband actually works for Dow, so I'm hoping that that'll help with that. And then I actually have some smaller business partners that I call them smaller because they're not on the corporation level as such. But I do have some smaller business partners and nonprofit partners, such as some churches that are wanting to come together and support the building of the school, as well as be funding and thought partners. And then I have something called So Grow, which is a current up and coming business here in Louisiana in the area of cannabis. And so they're actually also looking to partner as well. So those are, I think I gave you 6, but that's okay.
It's more than okay. I love an overachiever, my vibe. Way to set the tone. That's wonderful. Congrats. Those your initiatives sound really, the business part got me tingly. But perfectly said. You made such a great note about how you mentioned the, again, smaller businesses, whatever you want to call them. You mentioned the churches. There's such a you can distinguish between the two, right? Because there is a distinction between the two, but at the same time, I'm such, and as we're going to get into, such a proponent of no matter who it is that you're emailing or reaching out to, speaking English and speaking directly to a person. An example of this is I used to design resumes. That was like my first business. And I always would encourage people to put fun facts about themselves. And I got such pushback about it. And one woman in particular pushed back. And I said, no, we need fun facts about you because it's a human reading this. And she put her Harry Potter house, like whatever her, I don't know, Gryffindor or whatever her house was. She sent her resume, applied for a job that she was interested in. And within like 15 minutes, heard back because the person who read it was in her house. I don't know how these things work. But like you said, it's you can distinguish between the two, yes, but also at the end of the day, you are speaking to a person. And so Rochelle set us off on a high note. She already has her, well, 6 organizations. For those of you who are listening, if you are here to work, write down right now 5 organizations and 5 individuals who align with this project that you have in mind. And to know me is to know that you are going to be put on the spot. Again, I can't control what you're doing, but if you came here to do it, I have templates for you. As you'll see, there's an individual donor outreach template and then the corporate/org outreach template. Right now, if you are on your computer, you're going to send it. We're doing it. We're here. And I'm going to share my screen. I personally am working on something myself. And so I'll be the test dummy. Why don't I do a separate page? Okay. This is the individual one. Actually, we're not seeing. Okay. So for me personally, it's fresh. I don't have outlines. I don't necessarily know what it looks like, but for accountability purposes, I will share with you all that I want to put together some type of cultural competency curriculum for after school programs. For context, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. I grew up in a very diverse environment. I went to college in Baltimore with the NELWA. We went to Goucher. And that was when I learned that, yeah, places aren't diverse. The way that I grew up around so many different cultures. Went to Baltimore, saw that it was very black and white. I was traumatized, to be honest. I almost transferred schools and everything. It was just so much for me. But particularly as I get older, I'm learning how that was such a foundation for my travels. For example, Goucher requires study abroad, which is why I chose it. I went to Paris when I was in my junior year. And since then, I've been to almost 40 countries. I've lived in about 10. I live in Colombia now. I realized talking to my friends the other day that I took Latin in high school. I forgot about that. But just so many different pieces of culture have come together to form my perspective on the world, but also my audacity. And I want to figure out how to transfer that, or rather impact kids and help them see that, being culturally sound and intelligent is such a cheat code, but also preparing them for a world where the States is not the powerhouse that it once was. And so that's my vibe. Okay, so now I'm on the spot. Subject, project name, and then you equals something special. And again, you can tweak this. In the next section, we'll go through your brand vocabulary and how to especially make things sound like you. But for now, let's dive in. The project name. I'm going to come back to that.
Excuse me, Megan.
Well, yes.
Are you sharing your screen at the moment, or is it on the Notion that we're looking at a particular thing at this moment?
Yes. Can you see my screen? Oh, thank you. I wasn't sharing my screen. Thank you so much for interrupting me. Appreciate it. Okay, now you can see my screen.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, beautiful. So this is in the link that I gave you are these templates. Come back to them later as you wish. But for now, if you're ready, dive in. And I'm going to do this, put myself on the spot. We'll pretend that I'm emailing my homie Chad. Your work with, I'm going to say your work with Martha's Table If you're not familiar, Martha's Table is a nonprofit in DC that I know he donates to. And let me just do a quick search just to be sure that Martha's Table aligns. Please do not, I mean, I'm a bullshitter for sure, but let's bullshit with intention, you feel me? Okay, yes. Martha's Table, we support strong children, strong families, and strong communities by increasing access to quality education, health and wellness, family resources. Perfect. Your work with Martha's Table caught my attention. I've been following your impact in, I'm going to say early childhood education. I'm reaching out because that's something to note, the whole I'm versus we're. I'm a solopreneur, as I help call myself. I host retreats for women. I, again, build my brand off of newsletters. I host a lot of workshops like this. Built my brand on being an educator. And I also consult with a lot of coaches, entrepreneurs, that type of vibe. And there's definitely a trend of, I can see when a certain person will say we're, and I think that the takeaway is that when you say we're working on something that I think you love is authority and like, oh, I have this team and da da da. And yeah, I can see how that's relevant. But for me, I prefer I'm working on something that I think you love, because even if I did have a team, they don't care. I mean, they could, but the connection is me. I'm working on this. And that's why I know that you're interested, because I'm working on it. So be mindful of when you're an I versus a we. I'm reaching out because I'm working on something I think you'd love. I'll say a comprehensive curriculum. I write made, obviously. Made to prepare children for, how do we say in a PC way? Made to better prepare children for awards. Words, man. Made to help children thrive. Okay, we'll come back. I'm gonna write it. Quick highlights that I'm gonna switch this. Made me think of you. Chad has been to my hometown. You've seen the impact that Providence has had on my career and my relationships. He's also traveled with me. I think we've been to 6 continents together. Through our travels, you've seen how I'm able to integrate in new environments quicker than most, and unique aspects that matches their approach. You've witnessed firsthand how my intelligence or my cultural competency, my well-roundedness, I want to speak to it, that's impacted my confidence and business acumen, which is facts. Would love to share more details over a coffee or a quick call, your choice. This isn't about funding yet. Just excited to get your thoughts as someone who really gets this space. Look forward to connecting. Boom, perfect. Now, some people would shy away from the fact that, oh, this isn't about funding yet. I call it what it is. You feel me? Because I'm a firm believer, again, people want to give money. And also it's a tax write-off, depending on who it's coming from. But I really am of the belief that people want to give. And I am here to present an opportunity from someone who, I have integrity, which also, I mean, it helps as a foundational point, right? To have integrity and for people to know that your intentions are pure, but call it what it is. A comprehensive curriculum made to help children thrive in a culturally diverse settings. And projects name, honestly, I'm big on talking like myself. I would say, I wouldn't actually say this. This is more formal, but I would say I got some new shit. And that's where, again, I feel confident in knowing when I can lean into certain things and lean out, but also I'm in a different world, particularly coming from a business setting where I can cuss. And so know your audience, know who you're speaking to, but at the same time, be yourself and push a little buttons, because I got some new shit is going to stand out in their email subjects. And also, as again, coming from the business space, I have seen how things like that as a woman even have helped me to stand out. That's the first one. For great measure, I'm going to do the second one as well. Big, I'm not asking you to do something I can do myself. Megan Smith-Burke. All right, that's the individual. Now this is the corporation. Now, arguably though, Chad is an individual, but has several businesses. So, is anyone doing that template right now? And if so, are you stuck on anything? I live to talk it out. Okay, here we go. Corporate. Alignment opportunity. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to correct my own work because I was torn about this when I was putting this together. I actually would just call this a media opportunity. And that's where, again, the theme is relationships, but also, if you haven't noticed, just being realistic about human behavior and what people's incentives are. And you can beat around the bush. That is some people's approach. It's not mine. For me, I'm direct and to the point. And I have seen how that has not only helped me in communications, but again, with getting money. Just say, what do you want? You know what I mean? Or how can it benefit them? And with these orgs, these institutions, these organizations, a lot of it is the media. And it's really that simple. It's like, oh, I want this money. And I already connected with, I don't know, the Louisiana Times, for example. You have it connected to Louisiana Times, and they already are confirmed to run this particular piece about your org, and you really want to highlight or you really want to do this in tandem with an organization in your community that you are behind the impact, or like you really, you resonate with their mission. And so you're coming to them because you're like, I need to do this with you. All they hear is a media opportunity, and a media opportunity to show that they gave money. It's different for a certain type of organization. So call it like it is. Media opportunity, I'll say Mindful Maven. It wouldn't be that, but Mindful Maven is my brand for women. Mindful Maven, and we'll go with continue with this flowers theme. My boy Chad owns a dispensary in DC called Flowers. So we'll use him as, actually, no. Let's get formal. We'll do my alma mater, which again requires study abroad. So I know that they would resonate with my mission of cultural competency. Hi, Julie. I actually would say, hey, Julie. That's a connect that I have who I could reach out to directly. Gouchers. Goucher stays doing things in the community. So we'll make something that will say Goucher's recent speaker series on the impact of studying abroad really resonated with, again, our or my. Play around with it, see which one resonates with you more. For some people, and you know what it is also too, I feel like for some people to reach out to Goucher, for example, and to say that our work, I get, yeah, from a place of authority, or it makes it sound legit. And I feel like for some reason, to me, sometimes it comes off as discounting the authority, because sometimes it can just feel so forced. And so that's me. Figure out which one works for you. My work at Mindful Maven, especially your approach to cultural competency. If I can spell competency. Competency. I'm currently developing, one second, the chat. Melissa, yeah, you can, not stuck, but I like the template. Okay, nice, Rochelle. Melissa, yes, copy and paste it, because if you edit it, then we would all be able to edit it. It would be a mess. But you can do it in a Google Doc, but you definitely should be able to copy and paste. So happy, Rochelle, you like the templates. Yeah, like things very straightforward, and also leverage bullets. As you can see, both of these templates are to the point. Do you also, let me highlight real quick, and Noah, I'm sure you're used to this rant. You realize I didn't say, how are you? I hope you're well. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. Dive in when it's about money, or honestly, not even just about money, but anything. I don't care. And I promise you, as particularly as a woman, but just as a human, I have gotten so many compliments for my communication style and the fact that I dive in, because time is money. And so if you're coming to ask me for money and you're going to give me 5 paragraphs, you're already telling me that you don't respect my money, actually. So why would I give you more? Or why would I give you anything when you're here just wasting my time? Catching up on messages, the templates are wonderful. And yes, I learned that from you. I dive in all the time now, or ask Claude to help me with even more brevity. Oh, Nanoa, that makes me tingly inside. Because I do the same with Claude or any AI chatbot of your choice. I ask for brevity. I reread my emails before I send them to see where I could take out filler words. A lot of people, particularly women, with just, I'm just reaching, they'll just take the just out. Again, a lot of times that's, a lot of people will put a lot of that in their words, in their sentences. You can take those out. Brevity is your friend. Bullets are your friend. Bold, leverage color. When you really want to make sure that they see something. For example, let's go back to this individual one. I would say like this. This is a boom. Whatever you take from it, I want you to see that I'm working on this and I'm here to help the babies. How could you say no to me helping kids? Play into that. And also, again, we're here to skim. No one's reading. Don't take it personally. I can't wait to send these tonight. Oh, perfect, because that is your homework. A minimum of 1, but even better, send 5 and 5. But let me keep going with this one so that you get the gist. Okay, we're currently developing a curriculum, a cultural, a comprehensive, call it like I called it above, comprehensive curriculum. Let me just copy it. And for some people in this case, I can see how, and it depends on when I would use it, but the maid, for example, I probably, to be honest, would still leave it, even if it is a corporation, because my name is Megan. So come on, guys, let's put it clearly. People call me May. It's there for a reason, but it is my brand. And I do want to create this cohesion. And I see some interesting overlap with your focus on providing resources to children. We'll keep it simple for now. Now, this is the big piece here. is I'm still speaking, I'm taking the same points, but I'm speaking about them in a different way, because the things that are going to catch a corporation's eye, even though it is still a human that's reading this, the things that are going to draw them in are different than an individual, I believe anyway. So for example, market/community impact point. Media, as I just mentioned, we're gonna do this first. This is the first thing. What did I say? 3 quick points of alignment. I have a connect, I have a plug. Again, I'm gonna say Louisiana Times. Louisiana Times, ready to write a piece, ready to publish. And even just things like that, you hear how publish hits different than writes. Writes implies that it has not been done yet. Publish implies that it's ready to go and we just need you in here. So again, language, it's so intentional for me. Ready to publish a piece about the impact of cultural intelligence on career longevity, right? Let's talk about the long-term impact, because that's what I'm here for, right? It's to help babies with their careers long-term. I love, and even love, I'm kind of iffy with the love thing, but I'm going to put it for now. But it doesn't say anything. It just feels like a filler word. To be featured with you or something, or I'd love to get you. Isn't a byline something? I'm going to pretend a byline is something for the sake of it's 12:46, so we'll keep it moving. Market/community impact point. This is data. Google, something with numbers. Corporation, they love numbers, or even any type of business person. Honestly, they just love metrics, any type of success metrics. You found a reputable source that mentioned how children who speak 3 or more languages by the time that they are 18 are this much more likely to or are this much more likely to then impact their communities in this way. Numbers. And then the shared value prop, in this case with Goucher, would be that they really do care about the impact. Or you know what I would do here? I would tie it back to me. Goucher, changed my life, which they did with exposure. And I'm so excited. I wouldn't say excited either, to afford this opportunity to more babies. But again, for the sake of brevity, for the sake of time, we're gonna keep going. But I wanna highlight that I wouldn't use love and I would not use excited. Boring, you're more eloquent than that. And if you're not more eloquent than that, then we have thesauruses, whatever, you have a thesaurus. But that's where there's a balance for me between accessible language. As you can see, that's the theme here, is it is accessible, but also impactful language. It doesn't mean that you have to replace love with some 10 letter word, but just be more intentional with your language. Alumni status. Oh, facts. That's a good one, actually, is right. And tying it back to the fact that I'm attached to you. Beautiful point, Anoa. Okay. Again, you have the templates. Go back at your leisure, aka today. Ideally, do it for you. You got this. We're going to keep it going for the sake of time. And actually, I'm going to share my screen again so we can just move to this together. Any notes before I dive into part 2? This recording will be sent out, so you can go back and hear these little tidbits. But also you have this page, and the recording will be put here. So how to communicate with each group and drive donations, because that is what we are here for. To start, in order to drive donations, even though I'm saying be very direct about the money part, on the flip side is money's not the mission. Like, it's the relationships. Again, you're here to build that rapport, build that connection. And so I have 3 essentials for me. I went through a bunch of my newsletters to see, and my blogs, just to see like, what is my vibe? Because I actually really didn't know before I put this together. It's like, I knew there was one, and there are 3 essentials actually, which is cool to see. 1 is behind the scenes, 2 is success stories, and 3 is stories that move. And the theme here is stories, stories. And it actually was easier for me to see the storytelling component because of my emphasis on cultural competency. And when I think of culture, I think of like folklore and stories, right? And yeah, you just connecting with cultures for me is usually through stories and hearing from someone else. And it's usually what ties me into something or brings me into something is hearing a story rather than getting an email saying, hey, we're fundraising for it. No one cares, you know, but tell me a story behind it. Give me something. And so the first and most important, I think, is behind the scenes. I'm gonna give it to you in regards to an individual, and I'm gonna give it to you in regards to a business or a corporation or an organization or whatever. So on the organizational front or the corporate front, there's a trend right now with social media. You may have seen it, particularly if you be on TikTok, which I haven't been for over a week. I miss it. There is a trend in social media that, let's say I have a new water company. The trend is that I'm not going to talk about the water. I'm going to start from the jump, from day one of building this water brand. I'm going to document it from the perspective of Megan. Like I'm this African American woman living in Colombia, and I'm so passionate about this water. And all my content though is about the trying to get funding or what went well this week. What did I struggle with this week? People want to build with you. And I think that there is unfortunately, such a misconception that you need to come perfect. You need to come ready. Whereas Anelwa, I'm sure you could attest to the fact that I have been so vulnerable about basically fucking shit up and life and lessons and business and relationships. I do it with tact, of course, but through my newsletters, I'm really honest about this. I don't know what's going on over here sometimes, you know? Not only do people want to grow with you, if you really think about it, how many people are doing that? Not many. And so you're going to stand out. And I know that I have, for example, because, from the individual front, there are some, especially as a coach, they're the ones who only share the highlight reel or all the things that go well on their Instagram stories, but you never hear the other side of it. That to me is a turn off, and I will stop following you because everything can't always go to plan. You know what I mean? And so the fact that you're coming off that way or only showing your highlights for me comes off as disingenuous and inauthentic. And also we just wouldn't vibe in that way because it's not even good or bad. Just give us the whole story, basically. And I believe that when you don't do that, people are going to read your energy, but also the fact that it is so rare to be so vulnerable that when I am, it makes me stand out even more. Because again, we're all humans. Progression over perfection. Facts. Is so, because it's real. And that's how 5 years from now, someone's going to come to me. I mean, I also business coach. So it is relevant to, like, let's say building a business, right? But that is also how someone 5 years ago comes to me and says, yo, Megan, I did this because you said this. And that's happened to me so many times now, which take all of this away is so rewarding to be like, damn, just by showing up as myself, someone came to me 5 years later and said that this one newsletter or me being honest in this way impacted you in this way. But also, again, it helps you stand out because other people are scared to do that. And I'm not scared to fail out loud. Success stories on the flip side. Success stories, again, my approach to success stories, I think, is different in the sense that it's not highlighting failures. It's that the success stories that I'm telling can even be a 3-part newsletter series, or maybe it's a couple years, right? Maybe, Rochelle really wants a Microsoft deal or something. And you said that in passing, like in one of your newsletters this year in 2025, you said that. In 2030, you're like, yo, I got it, guys. It's the same with me in versions. I'm a yoga teacher. And for the past like 10 years, I have documented on my Instagram stories, me doing a headstand, handstand, forearm stand. When I first got a headstand unassisted without the wall, my DMs went crazy because I failed. I fell on tables. I posted all of it to my stories so that when I did, I remember the day that I got a headstand unassisted without the wall. And I had so many DMs of people that were so hyped with me because I brought them along, but then that meant that we got to celebrate together. And also how, not even to be inspiring, but I can see how that's so inspiring to just like fail out loud and how unfortunately that's so rare. But I understand the fear behind it, but I cannot stress to you enough that maybe it is the harder choice, but choose your hard. And and people are not doing it. And so it's really going to help you to stand out. And even just a little bit, practice sharing embarrassing stories. Whereas again, me now, whatever, I'll I'll share most of it, maybe too much, but practice little tidbits. Practice if I am cooking, for example, when I burn my food, I post a lot of plant-based cooking videos and I burn something, I say that. Or if something didn't come out good, I'm like, guys, this did not come out good. So many people, can you imagine, post a cooking story and they pretend that it always comes out good every time, which I mean, most of my stuff does come out good every time because I'm a great cook, but I also shared the failures, So success stories with a twist. We're going to say success stories with a twist. Give some context, give some of the work that went into get into that success story, because I don't know about you, but I don't take it to offense. I don't take it offensively anymore, but I used to take it very offensively. For example, when people said that I'm lucky, again, through my travels, my late 20s was me backpacking throughout the world, going to all these different continents on my own. And I would often hear, "You're so lucky, you're so lucky." And I took it offensively, because it's like you're discounting everything that went on behind the scenes for me to get here. You just see this part of it. Now I take it as a blessing, because I am lucky. I'm so protected. I'm so blessed. I am lucky. But give some context on what got to that success, because also people like to skip over that part real quick and forget what it took from you, the effort it took from you to get there. And so just remind them a little bit, basically. And then lastly, stories that move. This is your CTA. This is your click through action. Yeah, click through action. And this is a CTA, quite literally, is a link, for example, in a newsletter. That's something that you can click to go to, and that's an action, right? You want to drive action. Now, the CTA, though, is not always going to be giving money. The CTA, a big CTA for me, again, Anela can attest to this, is I get great responses to my newsletters. And that, to me, is my number one metric of success, even more so than the open rate, is how many responses are you getting? Now, again, because I'm being vulnerable, it helps set the stage for someone to respond and be vulnerable with me, right? Which in turn, now we're building a relationship, which is the theme here, right? Versus if you're presenting perfection, also that's what you're gonna attract. And there's nothing worse than, oh my gosh, especially when you get a man that's just perfect and he has everything together, it's a front, we know. But why wouldn't you attract that? So be mindful to what are you putting out, because that's where you're gonna get back. And so again, my number one metric, and I hope yours is too, moving forward, is the responses that you get. How many responses, within 5 minutes of sending a newsletter, I usually have someone responding to me saying, this was a great read, or this was or this helps me with this. That is number one for me. And that's because, again, it's a story that moves you, whether it moves you to click something, it moves you to emotionally to respond to this email and tell me things. And then also respond to them. When people inevitably reach out to you, please make sure to engage, because that is what keeps them coming back next time. That's why people continue to respond to me. And then with that, there are some tricks on getting responses. What's an example? I was an RA, community assistant rather, but in college I was an RA, and I learned this trick that I still employ sometimes, particularly when I host courses, is toward the end or somewhere in the email, but particularly toward the end, you throw out a question like, what's your favorite cookie, right? Or I ask, like, my newsletters I share sometimes, like my nights out with, I went on a date to the Colombian hood, I don't know. And I'll say something like, oh, what's a spicy story that you have? Or what's a spicy date story? And it's toward the end, but then people respond to that. So one, I get the responses. Two, is because it was a fun question. But three, I have a better gauge of how long and who is staying around to the end. So that's a great way to gauge whether or not your content is resonating, because again, an open rate is great. And it is dope that when I send an email, 70% of people that I send it to, they do open it. But let's take it farther than that, or further than that. How long are they staying around for? Is the content actually keeping them engaged? The fact that I'm asking something at the end and people are responding to that, it's like, oh shit, okay. You're reading the whole time. That's crazy. Which story works when and why? Again, these are my three themes. Maybe yours are different. Just get in there. Who knows? Because you also have to try, right? And yeah, so which story works when and why is going to be up to you. And I really want to highlight that you know your people best. You got this. In regards to coming, you come in as an authority and you know the person that you want to speak to. Also, I celebrate when someone unsubscribes from my list because you're getting me closer to my people. Thank you so much for that, you know? And so don't be scared to, yeah, speak to your person. Someone has to say no for someone else to say yes. It's the same with feedback. Like so many of my clients will be so nervous when I say ask for feedback, or if you have a course, for example, I usually have an auto email that says, hey, any tweaks, any typos, anything you would change. And so many people are, scared of feedback, but it's like the feedback doesn't speak to your quality as a person. And also in regards to me as a person, I'm fired. There's really nothing anyone can say that could make me to make me doubt that. And I can see how newsletters or putting your content, putting your words out there is a way to check yourself on that and see how solid you are. And so, 30 minutes. Okay, we'll dive in actually to this one. We're good on time. And again, you'll have the recording to go through this. And so this is your 2 voice strategy. Now, yeah, we'll keep on. Okay. Create your brand vocabulary list. This is your shared language across, your brand vocabulary, because you do have a brand, whether it's Rochelle as a person, whether it's Christina's organization, whether it's how Christina walks into a room, for example, that's her personal brand. I'm such a huge believer that we already have a personal brand, leverage it. But to pretend that you don't have one is wasteful. A big piece of homework for everyone here is I own meganburke.com. I've owned it since I was 20 years old. I'm 35 now. I buy your name. It's your name. You know what I mean? It's crazy to me that, yes, it does not buy rochellescott.com if it's available. But if it is available, please buy your name. You never have to use it if you don't want to. I do think it's wasteful to not use it. But even if you don't use it, or even if I have meganburke.com and I just forwarded it to my LinkedIn page, that easy, boom, that's it. It's $12 a year. Buy your name. And this is something that I say often in my business courses. But the other day, I thought of this whole first name, last name thing. And I went through so many people, I don't know, Victoria Monet was one of them. Just any celebrity that came to mind. I just started going firstlastname.com. Every single person had firstlastname.com. They owned it. For me personally, I focus on the habits and the behavior of the people that are in a place that I would like to be. And so just even that type of confirmation, it's not that I aspire to be a celebrity, but I do aspire to take myself seriously, as seriously as a celebrity would. Particularly with my personal brand. So it was so affirming to see that so many people, Bill Gates, I'm sure, owns BillGates.com, you feel me? And so take yourself seriously in that regard. If you take no homework from this, please, while I'm talking right now, go buy your first name, last name.com. It's lazy, to be honest, to not own it. And yeah, that's what it is, for me anyway. But people are going to take you as seriously as you take yourself. Again, Megan Smila Burke. I'm very big on my whole name. Why? Because you'll notice a lot of mediocre white men introduce themselves as their whole name, but also that takes a form of authority and respect when you present yourself that way. Lamar said my name so perfectly, but if people don't, I correct them immediately. My name is not Megan. Things like that come across in your brand voice and just in your whole vibe and your aura. And I think logically we can all understand how that impacts the level at which you will receive money. So those, they matter. And I have been told that I can be rigid and firm and direct. That's also why people give me money, because I'm rigid and I'm firm and I'm direct and I call it like it is. So that makes sense that someone with the money to give would want to give it to someone like that. You know what I mean? So just, be mindful of those things. Brand vocabulary. And here's what I mean by this. And you're going to take this with you to do later. Let me give you some of mine. Made, right? And again, made helps to enforce that my name is Megan and not Megan. So on one hand, it's fun. On second hand, it stands out. But also it's logical because I've never had anyone respond and say, hey, there was a typo, because come on, that would be crazy. You know what I mean? But it's, human behavior, and me training people from the jump. this is how you say my name. Another one for me, oh, iconic. I often say people are iconic. Oh, future you. I often speak to future you. And these are things that, again, my Instagram stories, my newsletters, my blogs, podcasts, these are things that are my brand vocabulary. And actually, I'm going to say your personal brand vocabulary, even more so important for me than if you have an organization, is first and foremost your personal brand vocabulary list. Because how can you build a brand for an organization if you can't even build one intentionally for yourself? And you are the focus. We love your missions, we love your initiatives, but before that initiative happens, or before that initiative may not go past 5 years from now, but inshallah, Lamar still is here on this earth. So which brand has the most longevity? It's you as a person, and also that translates to your organization. Let me think of two more. Ooh, that are me. You know, what do you have any? I mean, I cuss. That's one for sure. My newsletters, I be cussing, and I very intentionally. It's not gratuitous, but I do cuss in the sense that I want to, like, it's the whole reason I wanted to work for myself, was to be myself. It's the same with smoking weed, for example. I very openly, I also I work in cannabis, or I consult in cannabis, but I'm very open about consuming cannabis because that's why I wanted to work for myself. That's also how I got a lot of business coaching clients, as they saw that, damn, the result of you working for yourself is you showing up and taking up space authentically. But also, again, it gives me cannabis clients. And my brand as well is, I don't like that I can get drunk and drink 5 margaritas on my story, and it's no problem. But for some people, to smoke a joint is a problem. So for my brand, I want to be set that tone. Thank you. Stay kind is a huge one. Wow. As a side note, this is my email signature, and it's in my Instagram stories. It's like, ignore my feed, watch my stories, and stay kind. Every single newsletter, every email, and every podcast, and my yoga classes, I don't do namaste. I say stay kind, which is me. Like, I am kind, but also that's why I can cuss the way I do and be a little, I am from the North, and that way I am very, again, direct. I will take up space. I will take what I need, but I'm also kind. And it's a way of balancing that out and staying authentic at the same time. But stay kind is a huge one. And on that note, I always encourage people to create your signature, like your email signature, but it's like, stay with it. So your newsletters, again, my podcast, it's in my Instagram bio. My vibe is to stay kind, not nice, but I believe in kindness. And so maybe yours is in a different language, which I love when my clients do. Yeah, so think about that. Like, what is yours going to be? And not just like cheers or, again, it's your signature. Stay kind is my signature. What is your signature thing that you're going to end with, and stick with that? And I promise, it hits. And the fact that she said that says that it hits, One more for me, because again, I am very intentional about, as you can see, through speech and language. I'll come back and think of something. Yeah, I'll come back. Okay, newsletters now. Template for you. And this one,
I'm sorry.
of course, no sorries over here.
Okay. What did you say MAED stood for?
Oh, instead of saying, instead of like made, MADE, I spell it MAED.
So that's your signature. I got it. Okay.
And my LLC is Life Made Easy, because I make life easier. But MAED, I always spell, my phone never even spells made, MADE. And with that, I also, on Rochelle's note, like, I live in Medellin, and people know that I write it Medellin. Affirmation, a big one, affirmations, and automation is a huge one. I'm big on tech automations, and that's a big reason why I consult, or even with newsletters, the back end of my shit, woo, clean. So automations, but now people think of silly things like this and they send them to me. So it's a fun way for me to be self-absorbed, and wordplay, which speaks to my brain. So yeah, whatever yours is. Okay, so newsletter frameworks. As I mentioned, these are the 3 vibes that I have. And maybe again, do you playing around because that's what we're here to do. It's not that serious. Please, it's really not. It's just a newsletter. You'll figure out a different vibe maybe, but these are the 3 that I suggest you start with, and an emphasis on the order. A big reason why I think people where they mess up with newsletters is they start with like stories that move, or here's what went. No one cares. We don't even know who you are yet. So again, start with behind the scenes, get a little, I'm very good, especially with men, at sharing enough about myself, but people think that they know so much. Depending on the person watching this, you may resonate. People think that they like know me, and it's like, or my Instagram stories, for example, I share so much, and really it's like 17% of my life. That's this. Be strategic about what you're sharing, and also share though in a way that, I don't know, man, people like TMI, they like a little mess, they like to hear about the date I went on last Friday, but then I'm going to tell you how I launched a course at the same time, because I'm a human. That's what it is. We're just humans. You know what I mean? And that's what people that's what they connect with. And so candid moments, maybe something messy happened in a meeting. Rochelle was about to go meet with a potential donor, and she spilled coffee on her skirt right before she went in. I remember I went to a conference once, and I didn't even know I had a beautiful, cute little pencil skirt. I had a slit up the back. This is split. My whole ass was out. Get messy. Like, that's what people are going to relate to, because again, we've all been there. Success stories. This is where you can dive into really be direct about their impacts. But again, even with the individuals, when you can mention numbers hit. It's the same with resume design, right? They always emphasize success metrics. This is the same thing with success stories. And then lastly, stories that move. And the stories that move, how they can help beyond money. You really don't have to, especially if you have a nonprofit and you very much, I mean, it's clear when you have a nonprofit, right, that you want money. Or for example, let me show you one of my newsletters that I sent recently so I can show you my email signature and how people will just send me money, but I don't actually ask for it. Who am I? What does it use? Recent use. Here we go. Okay. This was a recent newsletter that I sent. I won't even get into like the strategy here, but I will just a little bit. And again, this is a lot of information. I'm Megan. That's my vibe. My brain is big because there's so much in there. But you'll have the recording so you can go back and go to these things. Or future you maybe will come back. Great vocabulary. What I did here was leverage color and italics, because again, people were skimming, right? Again, also I started out cussing because it's me. But what I'm doing here, just as a heads up for future you, is I'm segmenting my list. Heads up, before we dive in, this newsletter is all about business. You're receiving this because you purchased something business related from me. Let me know if you're not interested. You'll still get my other newsletters. This is because this is how you keep your list, is by being mindful to send them things that they want to see. I have a lot of interest, as I'm sure you can gather from the short time we have been here. And I want them to be able to see if they're only here for travel stuff, they're only here for travel stuff. That's fine. I'm only going to send you that. But this is where automation comes in the back ends. But it's why I've been able to keep my list the way it is. So blah, blah, blah. Just real quick, you can see bullets, bold, numbers. My links are a certain color of blue because it's my brand of blue. Those little things that matter. Again, I could do the blue that everyone else does, or I'm Megan and I'm meticulous and I want my blue. The buttons are different colors. Red, action, right? Don't send me this shit. Green, that's where I really want them to go. It's the boldest. Bullets, this was an offer. But all that to say, again, you see stay kind, always, my signature. And then down here, I have buy me a drink. And usually every newsletter I send out, people buy me a drink. And that is from the website. If you ever want to just, honestly, maybe just to surprise yourself and put the link in your Instagram bio or something. It's called Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah, and you can change it to whatever you want. Mine is Buy Me a Drink. But all that to say, that's at the bottom of my email. And people usually, again, every newsletter, I get a drink, but that's such a fire way to know that people are sticking around to the end of my newsletter and appreciating enough to send me money. My fave. Okay, it's 1:14, so we're not going to do this. I'm going to fill this in. I wanted to do this with you, but I'll fill it in and resend it with the recording. But basically, newsletter 1, newsletter 2, newsletter 3, same vibe with the corporations and the orgs and the institutions, but it's just that what you're talking about, what you're going to hit at each theme is a little different to how you speak to it is different, but same vibe. And the real cheat code or little trick for future you, once you send these 3 newsletters, boom, you have a welcome sequence. If you don't know what a welcome sequence is, that's the welcome sequence where someone joins your list and you get the, hey, I'm so-and-so or whatever. These 3 newsletters, the way that I have outlined them, your first 3, that is your welcome sequence, should you wish it to be. So don't even reinvent the wheel. Don't make it complicated. Maybe you don't want to do all 3. Maybe you want to just do the first one. I'm very big on email fatigue. I think we all are exhausted by our inboxes. And that's why I send newsletters when I want to send newsletters. Conversely, the way that I really built my brand was in 2021, I want to say. I sent the Friday report and I sent it every Friday for 52 weeks in a row. It's one of my greatest accomplishments because I did it drunk, 4 a.m. I was at the club sometimes writing this newsletter. But people, if I didn't send it the next day, people were like, oh my God, is everything okay? I didn't get the Friday report. So maybe that's a challenge for you, honestly. And if you want to take the name, even the Friday report, go for it. It's based off of what I sent to my clients. What I used to. When I was a newer consultant, I would send a Friday report to my clients to say, hey, here's everything we accomplished. I'm past that now. What we accomplished is what we accomplished. But that's what it was based off of. And it really helps me build my brand. What is your time frame for your wonderful question, Christina? What is your time frame for your welcome sequence? It's tough. I'm actually a fan of a 1-part welcome sequence, or if it's not 1 part, let's say for these, for example, it's like the 3, I would even go as crazy as 2-3 weeks in between them. And the metrics or whatever, I'm sure if you Google it right now, it would say I think a common suggestion is a few days, I think is the suggestion. I disagree. Again, my vibe is human behavior. And I can tell you that no one cares, and I really think, that's a huge one of my brand vocabulary. No one cares. The sooner we can all realize that, the easier things will be, I think. So I think that it's overwhelming. I know for me, when I join an email list and you're bombarded with those welcome, I will unsubscribe because this is too much. So I don't know. Does that answer your question? Mine is a few weeks, I would say, in between, but that's me. It's the same also, let me hit, I guess it actually goes toward this last piece. Yes, thank you. Okay, perfect. It goes toward this last piece. What I was about to say is how many newsletters to send per month, for example. We'll go through this and then you'll see that I'm suggesting that you send 2 max. So what is going to be your next thing is building your 2025 donor strategy, but also it's my hope for you is that you're building out your vibe moving forward, period, your donor strategy. And then you're going to break that down into how that fits for 2025. I know that this is all very, especially important with this week, finding out that federal grants and loans are paused. And that whole thing was very affirming for me because I know grants exist. I know grants are a thing. It's just a route that I personally, I still would leverage, but this is more my lane because I really am a believer that money's out there. So even again, especially I think everyone other than Noah is and myself are in the States, but we are both from the States or have American passports rather. And as this scarcity, I hear a lot of scarcity language, and I just really implore you to ignore it. There is always money. And especially my mission right now is bringing the business vibe to this nonprofit space and to the charter schools and all of these things, because in business, you learn that I majored in economics for background. Like I love business strategy, all of it so much. We learned that when there's a recession, that's time to make money. And I think also that there's a misconception with how that money may be made during a recession. For example, let's say I'm a business coach. I could see it as, damn, no one can afford to pay. I charge about $5K to work with me for 3 months. No one can afford to pay that right now. Or I could think of it as, yes, someone can, because that's just a side, yes, someone can. And also, this is when I host a free workshop, for example, or a free training also, I love this. I could talk about this stuff for days, but this is when I launch a free training to help people get through this time. And then next year when they can, you know who they're going to think of? Me. Or a lot of women, when they do eventually quit their jobs, then they come to me and they're like, okay, I'm ready now. We're here for the longevity. We're here for the long term. So just don't let the chatter. Do you have any recommendations of helping or coaching a founding board to carry the brand you are building? Let me read that again. Do you have any recommendations of helping or coaching a founding board to carry the brand you are building? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, Christina, tell me if I'm right in interpreting this question. Do you mean this is a new org and thus a founding board? And with that, you're building the brand, right? Because it's new. And so how do you get them on board? And also how do you help them speak to the brand that you are building as you build it? Okay, perfect. Okay, that's a wonderful question. I'm going to say, one, getting messy and just owning that, right? Because when you're building a brand, as someone, that's usually when I love to come into, in the past, when I would come into businesses, is I love a startup vibe. That is my jam. And it's the same with consulting and I just love it. And so acknowledging that things will be messy and also setting the vibe, setting the scene that things will be messy. And I think that particularly as a woman, that's where vulnerability or strategic vulnerability can really come into play, because I know for me, I often get complimented on the amount of grace that I show myself. But that's because I don't believe that you can shame yourself into improvement. And so I carry that vibe into the professional environment as well. And so when something changes, or I don't know if you all have just even been on like a Zoom call where there was some minor change and everyone's just a bit frazzled or whatever, I'm usually chilling and also taking the stage, like taking reign of that environment and saying, hey, this is part of the game. Rather, this isn't an exception, this is the rule. And so I, as a leader, would set the vibe that we're here to throw things we're here to experiment, and not just right now, we're here to experiment for the whole, for forever, right? So that's one. And then two, I think, is getting started with things like this. My newsletter is how I was able to define my brand and to learn, okay, what's my brand vocabulary? I can go through my newsletters now and see, I use Claude, I love AI. And I have a project called May I, again, my name is everything, but in May I put together like 10 newsletters that I've sent. And I'll reference that for Claude to be like, hey, could you help me make sales copy for this? Or if I said brand vocabulary, for example, when I went and I asked Claude, it could go through my newsletters or different products that I put together and pull my brand vocabulary, which I did do, and then gave it my brand vocabulary as well. And so these newsletters will help because you're crafting the story, and then you're crafting the story that they can reference. And then let's say, Christina, you want to work with a brand designer, next year. Now the brand designer is going to come and say, hey, what do you have for me? Or you want to get help on your website, for example. Newsletters are so foundational, which is why I implore you to start today. Because, for example, you want to get a website designed and now you need copy or you need content. They can now reference your voice to know the vibe, to get the feel of the website, and to then put together the copy for you to then proofread rather than having to start from scratch. And so grace. And also, I genuinely believe starting with newsletters, because also the founding board will be getting these newsletters and it'll help them to feel the momentum, which is important, right? We all want to feel that things are in motion, but also it's helping them to internalize the message as it's being developed. Does that answer your question? Okay, dope. Fire. Okay, I want to be respectful of your time. So let me run through this. Again, I'll send out the recording. There's homework in here for you, so I'll highlight it in a way that makes it stand out. Your first mission is your first month made easy. Again, and whatever email platform you use, if you don't have one, actually, let me put, I use ConvertKit. I love it so much. It's usually what, not usually, it is what I convert, like put my clients, if people come to me to set up their email list, it's just a known thing, you're going to ConvertKit, but they're fire. Real quick, segmented lists versus tags. And if this doesn't make sense, that's fine. Again, you have the replay. It'll make sense one day. You have tags in your email list and you have segments. You all are going to segment into individuals and organizations, but being mindful again, right, with all of your newsletters, these organizations, it's a person reading it. So Joan works at CVS. And so Joan is your point of contact. So she goes into the corporation list. But when you're writing your content, you're mindful that you are speaking to Joan. And Joan has 3 kids and you can speak to that. So rather than focusing on speaking to CVS, because CVS does not care about you, but Joan may. So you're going to segment your list so that you can be strategic about when you email them, who doesn't want business updates, right? And then you're going to map out your next 3 months of newsletters. So that's 6 total, because my suggestion for you, and also you can choose to focus on 1 for now. You can also say 3, and that's fine as well. Although I would implore you to get a little gritty. You got this. I promise you, especially once you dive in, it does take work and it does take practice, but the sooner you can begin, particularly with writing, it can be hard to sit down and write, especially since we lack attention spans. But I promise you, you got this. Keep it simple. You have an individual track and you have your organizational track, right? 1 newsletter to each month. That's it. Some may say, I disagree. Some may say that is not enough. I would say that's more than you're doing right now. So let's just focus on 1. And also, again, inbox fatigue. I think we are all, just newsletters, emails, it's just so much. And so when you send things, get into the habit of sending shit that matters, that people actually, that's why I have the open rate that I do, because I'm never sending fluff, which I mean, you can get from my vibe, but please, again, the words, even just being intentional, using AI to say, hey, how can I make this more brief? But and when you do things like that, say, how can I make this more brief or to the point while retaining my tone of voice, while retaining my brand voice? Put an emphasis on that, because your voice is what keeps people coming, because your brand vocabulary is what creates familiarity. And that's why people get excited to come back, because they know what to expect. And then now they feel at home with you. And now when you ask for money, it's just a friend asking for money. It's no big deal for an organization that they trust, because they trust you. And as a bonus, you can schedule them in advance. So for February, schedule it now. Schedule it in for March already. My tip though, my huge tip, at least in the beginning, is do not say when to expect a newsletter from you. You do not want that kind of pressure. It's also just not necessary. And also, no one cares. So don't say every month you'll get just, on the 1st of each month or every Friday, or none of it. Again, don't put the pressure on yourself, and it's just not necessary. And lastly, my whole big vibe or theme with this is the goal is responses and not requests. You're building the relationship. The support always comes, right? At least I'm a huge believer that the support always comes. And relationships are the key to longevity, because again, Christina has this initiative right now, but in 10 years, who knows what Christina is going to work on? And I guess with that, my big takeaway for you is, I know a lot of you, again, mentioned these very clear initiatives and projects that you're working on. But to be honest, I actually would encourage you to start your email list for your personal brand, rather than the nonprofit or the charter school or whatever it may be. That matters for sure, and that can come later. But in regards to priority, I personally would say to start a list as for you as Rochelle, rather than these. Because also though, I think you all, that's 5 people. I think you all mentioned like 17 things each that you're working on. And so that's how you can gauge interest. That's how you can start to segment people, again, into which of your projects are you interested in or what are you working on. But if Brittany has 17 things that she's working on, that's probably Brittany's vibe. And it probably is not going to change. It's like me with all of my interests. It's not going to change. I want to talk about everything. And so lean into that. People love that we are multifaceted individuals. And I cannot stress to you enough that showing up as yourself, just that, however, not even how yourself comes off, but just showing up as yourself in the first place already is going to help you stand out, because it's really hard for people to do, as I'm learning in life. And it's helped me to stand out. So I say it with authority that I know that it will work for you. And I hope that it helps you to, yeah, engage yourself, or rather hype yourself up publicly. And yeah, that's my jam. If you're watching in the future, you're iconic. I'm going to stop recording now.